look back years from now and say, oh, I couldn't stop them from killing off another generation. I had to go to school and take a test, or I had to update my Facebook status. I couldn't be part of putting an end to the new Jim Crow. No, we are part of that. You here today are part of the thousands today taking this pledge of resistance and to take this throughout the month of October to another level where people cannot say, oh, I didn't know that slow genocide was going on. I didn't know this was going on all the time, and I didn't know that there were other people like me who hated it and who said that they wanted to stop it. No, this month people learned there are thousands of people all across this country who are determined to put themselves to work to put a stop to this. October 2014, the beginning of the end of mass incarceration, police terror, repression, criminalization of a generation, deportation and roundups of immigrants, incarceration of women. We say no more. This morning and yesterday at St. Nicholas Park in Harlem, dozens and dozens of youth were part of taking the Fists Up challenge, gathering together with their fists up and saying no more to police murder of youth. We are human beings. No more. No more.
No more mass incarceration.
No more.
No more miseducation.
No more.
No more treating unfairness.
No more.
Justice for everyone.
They don't want our kids to compete with the other kids. And that is the reason that it's being done. That is the teaching that they wanted to do to our kids. Where? In the prison system. So they do have a future. And the future for kids of color are the prison system.
This is the way that this system deals with people that they have no future for. It's like Noche's shirt says there. This system has no future for the youth. Well, I'm out here as a revolutionary. That's why I'm doing this. But look, we're all out here together, whether you're with the revolution or not, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, or however you come at it, we all have to say that we will not stand aside and let whether or not someone lives or how they live be determined by the color of their skin. That has to end, and we are acting to stop it.
El 1 de octubre, toda persona que odia los horrores de la encarcelación en masa y las consecuencias que trae, debería reunirse en sus escuelas, sus vecindarios, sus lugares de trabajo o en símbolos de los abusos del sistema judicial penal y hacer esta promesa. Después, todos tenemos que actuar en consecuencia.
My name is Carl Dix. I'm a representative of the Revolutionary Communist Party, a co-founder with Cornell West of the Stop Mass Incarceration Network. Cornell and I issued the call back in February for a month of resistance to mass incarceration, police terror, repression, and the criminalization of a generation this October. This month is going to be a month of tens of thousands of people demonstrating, sermons being done in religious institutions, panels on college campuses, cultural events, all of it pointed towards building a stop sign to mass incarceration, police terror, and treating our youth like criminals. This has to stop. That's what brings all of us together. I in particular am here because, like everybody else, I want to stop this, but I also see it as built into the fabric of the system. This is the way the system handles people, especially young Black and Latino people that they have no future for. They've got no jobs for these youth. The education system is wrecked. And what this capitalist system does is it wants to put them under control, because they remember what happened when my generation was young and how we rocked this system back on its heels back in the 1960s. They're acting to stop that now by exacting tight control on folks. It amounts to a slow genocide with all that's being done, with the locking people up, police blowing people away, getting away with it scot-free. We are acting to stop this. That is why I'm here. That's why everybody's here. My approach to it is we need a revolution. It's going to take revolution, nothing less, to get rid of it once and for all. And if you need a revolution, you got to build up resistance. You got to get people standing up and saying no more. Because if people accept this in silence, then they will do even worse to us.
We've called this press conference today as part of launching the October month of resistance to mass incarceration, police terror, repression, and the criminalization of a generation. We're here today at City Hall to launch here in New York a whole month of activities, a whole month of resistance. People should go to the website, stopmassincarceration.net, to see the full range of activities that are going on here. And in particular, I want to highlight the October 22nd National Day of Protest to stop police brutality, repression, and the criminalization of a generation. Union Square, 1 o'clock. We're marching to Times Square. No school, no work, walk out, be in the streets on October 22nd to say no more.
Police brutality and police murder are daily occurrences, yet brutal murdering cops are almost never punished for their crimes. Black and Latino people, especially the youth, are treated like criminals, guilty until proven innocent, if they can survive to prove their innocence. This criminalization has led to 2.2 million people being warehoused in prison, a 500% increase over the past 30 years. Tens of thousands of people in prison are subjected to the torture of long-term solitary confinement. Alongside this has risen a program of criminalizing and incarcerating undocumented immigrants. The color of a person's skin determines whether they live and how they live. Today we pledge Black Lives Matter, Latino Lives Matter, all lives matter. Mass incarceration, we say no more. Police murder, we say no more. Torture in the prisons, we say no more. Criminalization of generations, we say no more. Attacks on immigrants, we say no more. We will not be silent. We will resist until these shameful horrors really are no more.
I'm here as a representative of the Interreligious Foundation for a Community Organization, IFCO Pastors for Peace. We're here to stand in solidarity with our brown and black brothers and sisters who are being criminalized by the system. We stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters who are fleeing their countries and migrating to this country and being treated like animals. They're being caged, specifically the children that are coming to this country unaccompanied, who have no rights, that are being warehoused in various parts of this country with absolutely no rights, being exposed to mental anguish because they're just laying around in these prisons without knowing where they're going to go next. They might get deported back into their own countries, or they're going to stay in this country not knowing where they're going to go next. We are actually organizing a caravan down to the U.S.-Mexico border. We're leaving on October 10th. It's going to be an educational campaign where we're going to be educating people about the immigrant refugees, because we want to specifically change the dialogue. These people are not just immigrants, they are refugees. They're fleeing crises in their own countries that are a byproduct of U.S. foreign policy. So we want to change the narrative. They're not just illegal immigrants, they are refugees. We also want to call attention to the militarization of the U.S. border. They're not doing this to the Canadian border, which means that this is a direct attack on people of color. And so we want to invite you all to join us as we stop in Philadelphia, D.C., Durham, Atlanta, Jackson, Mississippi, Houston, San Antonio, Laredo, and McAllen, Texas, where we're going to be calling attention to the immigrant refugees and the militarization of our borders.
I'm with the campaign to bring Mumia home, a newly formed group. For people who don't know, Mumia Abu-Jamal is a political prisoner. He's been in prison on death row for about, I'd say, 30 years. He was just recently released off of death row. He was convicted of killing a police officer in Philadelphia in 1982, and there is substantial evidence to prove that he did not kill this officer. It was someone else. The reason why I'm here today is to talk about the issue of police brutality. Is rampant in this country, and it's it's like to no end, and I'm thankful to the October 22nd Coalition for always highlighting that issue, always on October 22nd. So I encourage people within the sound of my voice to attend. I'm going to try to attend, and I thank you for inviting me as a member of the campaign to bring Mumia home to this important day of a whole month of resistance to police terror and the criminalization of our youth. I also want to announce that the campaign to bring Mumia home is having an event on Saturday, October the 11th. It's called, the title of the event is "The World Stands with Palestine," and all oppressed people from Ferguson to Palestine, and we encourage you to come to that event.
I'm from the Undoing Racism Internship Project. What we're focused on is uniting students across schools of social work to band together and to organize on our campuses and in our schools in order to undo the racist ideology that is so embedded in social work profession. And so one of the reasons why I'm here and why it's important for the internship project to be invested is because we know that the enslavement and exploitation of black and brown bodies is a founding institution in this country. And it continues to be so, manifesting in the prison industrial complex. But the role that social workers take and have in this society is huge. We are essentially the gatekeepers of every single oppressive institution in this society. And it's crucial and essential for us to embody anti-racism in our thinking and in our work and in our practice. And so I'm here representing the Undoing Racism Internship Project. I'm so happy to be here. If any of you would like more information, please let me know, give me your information, and I'll be able to contact you.
We're here for Westchester County to be in solidarity with the Stop Mass Incarceration Network. We will all be showing up on October 22nd at 1 o'clock in Union Square to march. The mass incarceration of brown and black youth and people is incomprehensible, and as a white person who has never had to tell her son to be careful of the police, I stand in solidarity with all the women and all the mothers who've had their sons killed and incarcerated. And until everyone is treated equally, I will continue to stand with my brothers and sisters, as will many white folks continue to stand with all the brothers and sisters, so that mass incarceration ends. 2.2 million people in jail is unacceptable. Young men in solitary confinement is unacceptable. So I urge everyone to come out to the march and to be involved in all of the activities this month. Go to the Stop Mass Incarceration Network website, see what's going on here in New York. It's happening all over the country. Thank you.
Police brutality has no place in apprehending people. In addition to the 500% increase in the number of people behind bars in this nation, which happens to be the #1 nation with the highest percentage of people behind bars, we have the highest number of women behind bars. And not only are we saying women may be going to lose birth control, but we're putting them behind bars at an outlandish percentage. So if we're going to throw a huge percentage of women into jails and a huge percentage of black and brown people behind bars, and we're going to have police brutality at an obscene number, an obscene rate, and after, in a month, we're going to kill 60 people, which is 2 a day. We need to be fired up, all of us, not just the number of people that we have at this demonstration.
As people have said, people in Ferguson stood up heroically and sent shockwaves throughout all of society. when they stood up defiantly and refused to go home in the face of tear gas and tanks and rubber bullets. They refused to go home, and they sent a message all throughout society that what goes on will not go on in silence anymore. What goes on will not go on without being met with resistance.
Resistance!
That when people stand up, they do not stand alone.
Not alone!
When people stand up, they can change everything.
Change everything!
Not when they stay home, not when they pray, not when they vote. We just voted for a new mayor. We just got in a new police chief. And we went from stop and frisk to crew cuts. From stop and frisk to stop and choke to death. All across this country, this goes on and on. Generation after generation of black and brown people targeted, gunned down, and murdered by police. But Ferguson showed us that this generation can be part of the ones that put an end to it. And people are standing up. Hundreds in Columbia University stood up and took a fist up challenge, calling on everybody to stand with the people who are standing up. Dozens and dozens over the last couple days in high schools in Harlem have answered the fists up challenge and taken it together, challenging others to pledge to resist, to be part of stepping out throughout October, and especially on October 22nd. Hashtag 022. Hashtag 022. No more police murder and brutality. Circle Times Square. No business as usual. Walk out of school. No work. No school. We have had enough.
Enough is
That's
enough.
right. Stand up. And all throughout the month, people need to be taking the example of defiance by blowing the whistle every time they see the police harassing or brutalizing someone. Not just, that's right. I don't want to see any more videos of the police killing somebody while people just stand by and record. No more.
No more.
Yeah, record them, but blow the whistle. Call on people to stand with you. Call these police out and be determined to stop them from murdering people. I don't want to see more videos of them getting away with murder after murder, like they did with Eric Garner, while the cop who killed him smiled and waved at the camera. This is not someone afraid of being recorded. But when people stand up, like they did in Ferguson, or like people have done with the whistles, they can change everything. They can back these police off, and they can fight to build a resistance that says we are going to stop this in our lifetimes. And we in the Revolution Club, we come at all of this from the standpoint of getting free.
My name is Joyce McMillan, and I'm here today because I was affected by the child welfare system, and it's led me to want to volunteer within an organization that does policy change for child welfare, which is CWOP, Child Welfare Organizing Project. And it's dear to my heart because I realize that it's a systemic issue, that the policies and the procedures and the practices that are put in place are ones that will lead our children into the realm of the mass incarceration. It starts at a very early age. They're not incorporating parents into the policies that's being made, which means that parents don't have a voice. And I want to work to ensure that parents do have a voice in this policy making practice or procedure. I want parents to sit at the table where policies are made and be able to say what has worked, has not worked, and make change. What happened to me in the child welfare system is that my child was removed, and the place where she was put was not conducive to her becoming a productive member of society. While I don't believe they had real grounds to remove my child, they did so, and they didn't plan for her. And they don't plan for any of our children. That's part of the practice, and that's part of the reason I believe they exist. Because when a child is removed from home, ACS's website, their mission statement clearly says that they will provide each child with the minimum and the bare necessities. The bare necessities is what they say, which is the minimum. So my child was getting way more than the minimum at home. And it's not conducive to anything that we want for our children, because we want for our children the same thing that white America wants for their children. But there is all of these plans and systems put in place to ensure that we don't receive that. So it is not only the child welfare system, it's the criminal justice system, the juvenile justice system, the way we vote, how we vote. Everything that is systemic, everything that is run by the government is set up for us as black people, colored people, minority people to fail. Child welfare is a pipeline to prison. It's another form to incarcerate our youth, to not have them properly educated, to medicate them, to help prevent them from being productive members of this society. These children are not given a chance at life. They are ripped from their mother's arm upon being born. They are taken without any reason. People can just come into your home under the guise of being a child welfare worker and remove your children, put them on medication and terrorize the children and the family. This practice has to stop. This is a practice and a policy that has been going on secretly in our society because the mass of the people don't understand that this exists. I say stop it today. Stand together against all of the systemic places that we have from our government that tends to hurt minority people and their families. Stop with the miseducation. Educational system is one of those systems. The policies from education and child welfare are all horrible. The mass incarceration is horrible. It all must change. The killing of our children, stop it today. Stand together. Band together. Tell our government that this will not be tolerated. We have a voice and we will use that voice. We will stand together. We will stay together. We will not be separated because we understand. United we stand, divided we fall. We stand together today to stop the systemic movement of hurt in our communities. They torment our children because when children are separated from their parents, they begin to act out. And their solution for a child acting out is to medicate them. Medicate them to the point where they're drooling and they can't think and they're sitting in a corner, they're still. And no one says anything about this. They say that the children has a mental illness. It's not a mental illness. If they're mentally ill against you for the things that you've done and the things that you're doing. Children stay in the system sometimes until they, what they call age out, age 21 years old. And then they're just turned onto the street. No place to live, no money. They might be given a Metro card, the same that they do when they're released from incarceration. They give them a Metro card and $5. Well, they know where that first meal is coming from. Where's the next meal coming from? Where is the night's sleep coming from? Where are, you know, all of the other needs and necessities? They're not to be found, so we have to stop this practice.
My name is Henry Hagans. I'm a member of the Free Mumia Abu Jamal Coalition, and we're here today to protest this increased police repression against our people in the United States and in New York City in particular. The rounding up and imprisoning people for petty crimes or what are seen as petty crimes is simply unacceptable. The murder of Eric Garner this past July was the powder keg that set things off for many people in New York City. His murder was unjustified. The police have yet to be brought to trial or justice for having committed this crime, and we need to make the public keenly aware, as well as the powers to be, to be keenly aware that this type of repression in our neighborhoods is simply unacceptable. The United States is known as the prison house of nations because it imprisons more people than any other nation on the planet. The late Eddie Ellis from On the Count fame and his cadre of thinkers, while in prison, identified 7 neighborhoods in New York City that provide the bulk of the prison population in New York State. They include, but are not limited to, the South Bronx, South Jamaica, Bed-Stuy, Brownsville, Harlem, East New York, etc. These neighborhoods feed the prison industrial complex. It's not acceptable. Giuliani, Bloomberg, and de Blasio are on the same team. Their job is to protect and defend the interests of the ruling class. Obama does the same thing, both at home and abroad. Obama and de Blasio have used African elements to win elections and fool people of color into supporting their candidacies. The hated stop and frisk practices began under Giuliani and continue under de Blasio. He is not a friend or ally to people of color or working class people, period. Eric Garner was murdered on the mayor's watch. He hired Bratton, who started the broken windows practice. As Malcolm said, they make the victim look like the criminal and the criminal look like the victim. Again, it's unacceptable. Ferguson, Missouri is all of us. They set an example of how to resist police oppression, and we must support them. We must condemn and resist stop and frisk in no uncertain terms. The people united will never be defeated. El pueblo unidos jamás será vencidos. Down with stop and frisk. When our neighborhoods are occupied, resistance is justified. Obama's record speaks for itself. You know, he wages wars overseas under false pretenses. He says nothing about the conditions of poor and oppressed people in this country. He makes no effort to create jobs programs or denounce obvious examples of racism. He was lukewarm on the situation with Michael Brown in Missouri. His track record speaks for itself. He sides with the rich and powerful. He is their emissary. He is their chief executive officer, and he does nothing to relieve the suffering and oppression of poor people in the United States. The unemployment problem is out of control, and yet they always try to come out with these statistics that indicate, oh, well, their jobs are being replaced with the ones that have been lost. And this is not true. The billions of dollars that are wasted on wars of conquest, wars of imperial expansion, are things where the resources themselves could be used on behalf of humanity. He used his ethnicity as a shield and cover to enhance his prospects for being elected, and he hides behind that without even really acknowledging it to hoodwink and pacify people around the country.
Today we pledge Black Lives Matter, Latino Lives Matter, all lives matter, mass incarceration. We say no